is up? Welcome. This is my first ever video for the first Descendant. I decided to make this video because I've been spending a lot of time playing this game recently. I have over 300 hours on this game as a free-to-play player. For a lot of comments, especially on Steam or like reviews about how this game is extremely pay to win. Today I'm not actually going to try to convince you whether it's pay to win or if it's free to play friendly. I kind of wanted to just give you a perspective on my experiences so far playing this game. If you're someone who is looking to maybe try this game out, or if you're someone who has just recently started playing the game, you're still on the campaign and you're looking at the end game stuff and you're wondering what type of grind you're signing yourself up for, hopefully this video will give you a pretty good idea. So what do I have so far as someone who has put 300 hours into this game? The skin is wild. I still think the skin is wild. This is the wildest thing I've seen in any game do. The level of my account is mastery level 20. The mastery system goes up to 30, and this is basically how many characters and how many guns you have leveled up to full so far. I don't think mastery is that good of an indication of your account's progression. I think a better indication is how many maxed out characters and how many maxed out guns you currently have on your account. My only maxed out character is my ultimate bunny. The way that you make your characters stronger is by equip these modules on your characters, and these modules have various effects. So skill cost, extra health, skill crit rate, skill crit damage, just stuff that makes your characters stronger. And to equip them, you need to use your module capacity. And you can see over here it's 85, and this is the max right now. I have 85 right now, and I'm able to equip fully maxed out modules. So this little bar on the side is how much you leveled your module. And you can see that every single one of my modules are maxed out. And the same goes for your guns as well. This is my gun. This is almost maxed out. You see that this mod's not maxed out. It's 74 out of 80. Or actually I should equip a gun that I actually have fully maxed out, my Thunder Cage. A fully maxed out gun will look something like this. It will have every single slot with fully maxed out modules. Now you're probably wondering, these modules, they cost a lot of capacity. So this one says 14. How are you able to fit it onto your gun? But the way we do that is you can see that every single socket here has some sort of symbol on it. And when you first get your gun, most guns come without any symbols, or some guns come with one or two symbols. And the way that you max out your gun is by adding these symbols onto your gun. And what these symbols do is, if you have a matching symbol with the one on your socket over here, it actually halves the cost. So if I find the same one as before that I currently have on, which is this one, you can see that the cost is 16, right? And I have 71 out of 80. So there's no way I can fit a 16 slot mod, 16 capacity mod onto this slot. But because this is the same symbol as this one, when I put it on, it gets cut in half. So it only costs 8. The way that you add these symbols onto your character or your gun through this system where you use this crystallization catalyst. So you just click and then you pick a symbol, and then it consumes one of these when you use it. And you can do this for your guns and also for your characters as well. And when you do that, your gun's level gets reset back to level 1. So it's kind of like a prestige system. You have to level it up to 40 again, and then you can add another symbol, and then it resets it back to level 1, and then you have to level it again back up to level 40. And you just repeat this process over and over again until you have a fully maxed out gun or a fully maxed out character. So you can see over here, this is a gun that I didn't really level up or increase at all. And this one has a max capacity of 50. Now when you use the other option over here to increase the max capacity, it uses one of these energy activators, and it turns it from 50 to 80. And through this process, you can also fit more modules onto your gun. So to max out a gun, you would first use the energy activator, and then you would level it up to 40, and then you would add a socket, it would reset it back to level 1, and then you level it up to 40 again, and then you add another socket, and then it resets it back to level 1. You just keep repeating this process until your gun's fully maxed out. I used to think that you could infinitely buy these in the shop, but that is also not true. These things, when you buy them from the shop, they only come in these Ultimate Descendant packages. And these are pretty expensive. This is 5,000 of these, this pay-to-win currency, and I'm currently living in Taiwan right now, so my currency is in Taiwan dollars, but it's about $90 US to buy this. A Ultimate Descendant package would cost around $90, and what it comes with is the Ultimate Descendant, some skins, these are all cosmetics, and it comes with 1 energy activator and 2 of these crystallization catalysts. I think this is pretty expensive for how little power it actually gives, and I'll explain that in a little bit. Obviously, when you first start playing the game, this increase of power is pretty significant, but as you get to the end game and you start farming and your farming efficiency gets better and better, this becomes less and less important because you get so many of these crystallization catalysts as well. You can see that I currently have 11, and I think I have a 12th one crafting right now, and they're pretty easily farmable once you get to the end game. The blueprint takes on average maybe like you could farm for like an hour to get one of them. The other materials, I think maybe around 20 to 30 minutes. Actually, probably less than that. Maybe like 15 minutes or so, you could probably farm the other materials. In an hour and 15 minutes, you could probably farm one of these. This is just my estimate, by the way. This is just from my experience. This thing is a little bit harder to farm. These energy activated blueprint are pretty rare, and the materials take a little bit more time to farm. Maybe about 45 minutes-ish or so to farm all the materials. And then for the activated blueprints, they have a pretty low drop rate, maybe like 3 hours or so to farm one of the blueprints. It's not really something you can target farm, it's just something that you get from playing the game for a long time. So if you really want to target farm them, I would say maybe around like 4 hours to farm one of the activators, but you only need 1 activator per gun or per descendant that you're leveling up, so you don't need a lot of them. But at the same time, the materials are not infinitely purchasable from the shop. I don't think First Descendant is a game where you can, like games like Lost Ark, where you could just keep buying materials to upgrade your character. It's not one of those games. I guess the only real pay to win is if you buy this, you get like a head start. Basically get a front-loaded power boost through having an Ultimate Descendant and having 1 of the activators and 2 of these crystallization catalysts. Moving on to the next point, you're probably thinking, well, what's an Ultimate Descendant? They're a lot stronger than normal Descendants. Most Ultimate Descendants, they have a very slight, it's very like minimal stat increase compared to their normal counterparts. They also come with 2 of their sockets already socketed. You can save 2 more catalysts on your Ultimate Descendants versus if you upgraded a normal Descendant. The third thing is certain Ultimate Descendants have these Ultimate Descendant exclusive modules, and what they do is they change one of your spells to something else. Now, certain Ultimate Descendants, I would say, are a lot stronger than their normal counterparts, and other ones are basically the same. An example is like Ultimate Bunny, and Ultimate Bunny has this Ultimate Bunny exclusive module. It changes one of her abilities. It used to be like this big AoE circle ability, and it turns it into like a fork lightning ability. I think this mod's really strong. It basically like almost nearly doubles her damage. In the case of Bunny, the ultimate version is a lot stronger than the normal version, in my opinion. Another Descendant where I don't think the ultimate and normal versions matter that much is like Glay. For Glay, most people use one of the normal modules for her and don't really use the one that's exclusive for Ultimate Glay. You're probably wondering at this point, what if I want an Ultimate Descendant and I'm completely free to play? What do I need to do to farm one of the Ultimate Descendants? The newest one that came out that I'm currently crafting right now is Ultimate Valby. She's actually super easy to farm. She took me like maybe only like 3 or 4 hours or so to farm. I have all of her parts. These 3 are currently crafting, and then I have the code. Once those 3 are finished crafting, I can craft Ultimate Valby. But that's also because I have a maxed out character right now, so my farming efficiency is a lot higher than someone who doesn't have that. And she also requires you to beat some of the really hard bosses in the game to farm her efficiently. It's kind of deceptive. I'm not trying to deceive you, but it's kind of deceptive when I tell you that it only took me 4 hours to farm. It's only because it's me that it took 4 hours to farm. Maybe for a normal player, it would take a lot longer, you know? Maybe someone not as sweaty or try hard as me, it would take a lot longer for them to farm her. I wanted to share my experience of farming Ultimate Bunny because she actually took me quite a while to farm. This was before I set up all my like farming efficiency stuff. So the process of getting Ultimate Bunny is you have to get all 3 of these parts, get all these materials, and then you craft all 3 of these parts, and then you combine them into Ultimate Bunny. and that also contains another part as well. These blue materials are really easy to get. You basically get a whole bunch of them if you open crates throughout the campaign. These purple materials, some of them are pretty easy to farm, like this one's pretty easy to farm. I have like 800 of these out of, you only need 73 to craft. This one is a little bit harder to farm. You have to open boxes, and I'll talk about boxes in a bit. But the hardest thing is actually these blueprints. And these blueprints are a pretty low drop rate from most bosses. So this one I remember is a 20% drop rate. This one at its highest is a 10% drop rate. This one's also 10%. The code to craft her is a 6% drop rate. You would need to go and do these fusion reactor missions over here. And these are super quick, but they're on a 1 minute cooldown. They recently changed this to 1 minute. You used to have to wait 5 minutes every time you clear the mission. And when I farmed Ultimate Bunny, I had to wait 5 minutes each time. And when you do one of these missions, it gives you this amorphous material that you see as a 25% drop rate. I think the one for Bunny is actually the other one, the 73. And that has a 5% to 25% drop rate. You would have to do one of these missions, wait 5 minutes, add a chance to get one of these materials. And when you get one of those materials, you have to take it to a reactor. 99 was the other bunny part. We'll just use 99 as an example. You would get it, and then you would have to go to the reactor over here to open it. See, it says it needs organic and polymer void shards. In order to get these void shards to activate the reactor, you have to do one of these void missions. So this one gives you inorganic and polymer, which is exactly what we need. I would have to keep doing this mission until I get it, and the drop rate's on average 15%. Once you get it, go here, farm it twice, and then you go here, and then you fight like a mini boss to open the reactor at a 10% chance to get Ultimate Bunny. So it's a pretty long process to get Ultimate Descendants. And the other thing I forgot to mention was that in order to actually even do that mission, you actually need to do that mission as an infiltration, which means you have to have a character that can go stealth. So the only character that can stealth in this game is Sharon. To get her, you would need all her parts as well, but her parts are a lot easier. You don't have to open those amorphous materials and go to reactors to get her parts. You simply run a dungeon, and each of these dungeons have a 20% chance to drop one of her parts. So you would collect all 4 of her parts, each at a 20% drop rate. The dungeon, it says 20 minutes or less, but it usually only takes me like 10 minutes to run one of these. And once you have Sharon, you can go and do the missions to try to get Ultimate Bunny. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is one of the parts for Ultimate Bunny, this resource over here, Pure Energy Residue, these are from boxes. And these boxes, they're kind of spread out throughout the map. Each zone bonds with 2 boxes. You would have to go and open them with keys. Now, keys you get just from playing the game. It's like a complete random drop throughout the world when you kill things. There's no way to target farm keys, but usually by the time you hit endgame and unlock hard mode, you should have a lot of keys, more keys than you need to start progressing in the game. So it's not really that much of an issue to get the keys. Now, when you open the boxes, there's a mini game, and the mini game is kind of hard if you don't have a specific character. You basically have to get him to open those boxes. He basically makes the mini game really, really easy. So once you get him, you're guaranteed to beat that minigame. Before you get him, sometimes you could lose on the minigame. And he also makes it so the boxes drop more loot. So it's efficient to get Enzo. He's not a hard requirement to open the boxes, but he makes opening boxes very, very efficient once you have him. In order to get Enzo, you would also need to craft him like this. Now, these materials cost a lot less because he's just a normal descendant. These materials are also a lot easier to get, and the same goes for his blueprints. His blueprints are usually at a much, much higher drop rate, higher than 30%. It's a lot easier to get Enzo. You can try to get them from bosses, but they come from a very low drop rate, and the most efficient way to get some of his materials is actually through the reactor. So you would have to go and do one of these reactor missions in order to try to get Enzo. Amorphous material 35 has a 38% chance to drop one of the blueprints for Enzo. This is just from the top of my head. Whenever you do this mission, there's a 20% chance that you get this material. But on normal mode, if you do it with Sharon, the character that can stealth, go into the mission and you stealth and don't kill any mobs, sabotage all the machines without getting caught, you'll get another chance at one of these patterns. So you would have 2 chances essentially if you do this with Sharon. In order for your farming to be efficient, you would need to get Sharon first and then also use her to get Enzo. And that process makes it so it's a lot more efficient to farm for the parts you need for Ultimate Bunny once you have Sharon and Enzo. Sharon, I think on average took me around 2 hours to farm. Enzo took me around 4 or 5 hours to farm. And Ultimate Bunny, I think, took me around like 20 hours to farm. So if you add all that together, it's probably around like 28 hours or so to get Ultimate Bunny. We can round that up to 30 hours. But at the same time, once you have all these things, it makes it so other Descendants are easier to farm. Now, Ultimate valby has a lot higher drop rate. Only took me 4 hours to farm. But the only reason that I'm able to farm her in 4 hours is because some of the places that you get her that have very high drop rate are locked behind the end game bosses. And the end game bosses are very, very hard. So it kind of creates a situation where the players that have things have more things, and the players that don't have things really struggle in this game. But I can tell you that if you make it through the initial hurdle, things become a lot easier afterwards. Once you have the core Descendants that you need to make your farming efficient, you can basically have everything you need in the game, and you can do it for free. To kind of look at this from another perspective, it's somewhat difficult. It's probably pretty difficult for a casual player to play this game fully free to play and progress their account to the point where I'm at. I think one of the issues with this game is pretty difficult for a casual player to get into this game and be fully free to play, because a lot of the characters they want to play is locked behind a grind that you can only really begin once you finish the campaign. So you have to play through the campaign with the characters that they give you, and then once you make it through that, you have to grind a few characters that you may or may not care about, so like Sharon or Enzo, and then afterwards you can use those characters to finally grind the character that you actually want to play. This is Fanta in post-edit. I was watching the end of my video and I realized it really wasn't the message that I was trying to convey. I was very, very focused on the downsides of this game, and I did not mean to make this video as a criticism for this game. I actually really, really like this. I've spent 300 hours playing this game. Obviously, there's something really, really fun about it. The gameplay is definitely really awesome. Like the gunfighting, all that, the boss battles, I think is really, really well designed. The focus of this video was talking about the systems of this game, which I think has a lot of issues, especially for players who are a lot more casual or players who are newer to the game and they don't have the crazy min-max sweatiness that I have. I can understand that it's a lot more difficult for them to get into this game. I had some friends play with me when I first started playing this game, and some of them quit. I look back and I think it's such a shame to know that the fun of this game is locked behind such a unfriendly barrier that kept people out. And I feel like originally they designed this in a way that forces people to buy the Descendants, even though they made it perfectly farmable. But the journey to get there is so long, and I think this definitely should change in the future. But at the same time, I have very, very high hopes for this game because the devs are some of the best devs I've seen in gaming in a very long time. They're extremely responsive. They make updates very, very quickly. There's constant updates, and they also listen to player feedback, which is the biggest thing. Originally the players hated the boxes that Enzo opens, and they made it so the boxes drop a lot more loot, and they also made it so monsters drop stuff from the boxes. So if you really, really didn't want to use Enzo to open boxes and you just want to farm the materials, you can do that. You don't have to use Enzo. The other thing is the Outpost mission. It has a 5-minute cooldown. Now they changed it to a 1-minute cooldown, so you can do it a lot more often. Players also hated farming the void shards to use the reactor missions, and they made it so the void shards drop a lot more shards now. They basically doubled it, so you have to farm it a lot less. They're constantly listening to player feedback, and I think the game would be in such a good direction if they focused a lot more of the shop stuff on the cosmetics, because they have these beautiful characters. They have these crazy thirst traps, this Coomer bait with like the bathing suits and all that. They could just focus on that, and I'm like so tempted to like spend money. I don't think I can resist much longer. I think I'm caving very soon, and I'm gonna have to no longer be a free-to-play player. When I saw the valby swimsuit skin come out today, it was a bit too much. I almost went ahead, but I wanted to make this video first so I can at least say that I was playing this game completely free to play. This game has a lot of potential. It has such high potential, and that's why I'm sticking with it. Even though there's a lot of issues right now, and it's really hard for new players to get into this, or if they're really casual, it's a little bit harder for them to get into this game if they don't have that much time to play. I hope that I can help players get into it in 2 ways. So the first way is, for my next video, I have decided to make a beginner's progression guide, like I always do in the good old old days for whatever game I play. I decided to make a beginner's progression guide on how to progress the game as efficiently and as fast as possible, which actually leads me to my second point, which is I am starting a clan/guild for this game. The devs have announced from an official Q&A that they're implementing a clan or guild system in the future, and we're basically going to be pre-recruiting for the guild. Now, a disclaimer, the people that I play with are very, very pro free speech. Okay, so the Discord has no chat rules. The only chat rule is don't spam to the point where nobody can read the chat, but you can basically come in and say whatever you want. Nobody gets offended here. But if you're someone who gets easily offended, then this guild may not be for you. I'm going to have a lot of helpful resources in the Discord for the guild. The guide will also be there, but if you don't want to join the Discord because, you're afraid of someone, calling you some bad names and stuff, then you can wait for my next video. I will be going through that. There will be a written version of the guide on the Discord. I will begin working on that ASAP. The second thing is this game actually is a lot easier if you have people to help you. The loot system in this game is actually very, very good. All loot is basically shared. So you can actually carry people through a lot of things. So for example, you can have someone that has Enzo. So if you don't have Enzo, you need one of the materials from the boxes. You can have someone with Enzo go and open the boxes for you, and it uses their key. You don't have to spend anything, and you can loot the materials because the loot is shared. And the same thing goes for the infiltration missions as well. If you don't have Sharon, you can have someone with Sharon go in, do the infiltration, and then you step in, they kill the boss for you, and the boss drops loot, and you can loot the boss. You can have people carry you if they are more progressed than you, and it helps you skip a lot of the process and speeds it up. It helps you get to the point where you can play the characters you want faster. If you're someone that maybe wants to play Glay or some of the later Descendants like Eugen, then this is like a really good way. If you can make friends with someone who's a lot more progressed, then they can carry you through some of the content. And if you join the Discord, join our clan, we can definitely carry you through some stuff. That is pretty much it. That's all I really want to say. Thank you so much for watching this, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.